Hi folks, welcome to the first official show of The Photography Guy. So I wanted to start out today, or this first show, with very much what's in my gear bag. Now the gear bag that I have here is a Low Pro, and it is one of the sling bags. I've had this bag for quite some time, and a couple things in here that we got to talk about. First of all is what gear I had and what gear I recently purchased. Now, I recently became, now you may love it or you may hate it, but please don't be a hater. But I recently purchased the Sony A6000, the mirrorless DSLR camera. And now you may want to ask, why did you go from what you were shooting, or what was I shooting? I was actually shooting a Nikon full frame camera. I wanted to get into the mirrorless camera, and I wanted to learn more about it. It's super lightweight, it's easy to carry around, it doesn't wear you out when you're out shooting all day, and it's just a really good camera to have. So I was as I said, I was a Nikon shooter, and I was a Nikon shooter for years. I did a lot of weddings with Nikons, I did a lot of senior portraits with Nikons, and I love Nikon cameras. It's a great camera. But when I was looking for a mirrorless solution, they just didn't have the mirrorless solution I was looking for, and everybody focused on Sony because Sony is where it's at with the software and with the hardware of the camera itself, and now with the a lot of the different lenses that I'm working on purchasing, because I still have some Sigma lenses and a Nikon lens, which if you're interested, message me or put a comment on here. I'll show you those in a second. They are very much for sale, because I'm changing over to the Sony lenses. So yeah, I did become a Sony shooter. I do shoot it in manual mode, and it's been a really fascinating camera. Can't say enough about it. So what do I carry in this gear bag? Or do I need this big gear bag anymore now that I'm not carrying around my my big Sony DSLR? I had the D600 full frame camera, so I'm not carrying it around any longer. But so I don't carry this camera bag all the time, only for going out to do senior portraits. Then I take this because all my gear is with me, and that's what I need. But if I'm going out on the road for a weekend, or if we're going on a short trip, I take this little bag. This is all I need now for my Sony mirrorless camera. It has the kit zoom lens in it, and I just keep that in there. I keep a spare battery in this front pouch, and that's all I need to go. It's very lightweight, very easy to carry around. We carried this thing years ago when we went to Las Vegas and we went to the Grand Canyon. We carried this bag all day, and it is extremely heavy when you get all the gear in there. So starting at the very top of the gear bag here, I'll show you a couple of things we keep in here. Filters. Keep some filters in here. I keep my flash triggers in here. And these are the impact flash triggers. We'll be using these throughout these different series and topics that we're going to talk about with photography work. These are great little triggers. I've had these for a long time, and they just work. They fire all the time. Once again, that's impact triggers. Work very well. What else is in here? An extra tripod mount for my secondary tripod. We have some strobist gels, a gel pack in here with multiple colors. Very nice to carry with you. An extra flash stand. Never know when you might need that. Not as much as you would think. This is just a little cable here that I can shoot my triggers. I can use this with my trigger, and I can fire off a studio strobe with this end. So it's very nice to have that in there. Not that we use studio strobes a whole lot. We'll get into more of that later in the topics here. And a cloth. Just a nice little lens cloth in there. So that is about all that's in that top pouch. Let's put these on back in there so we keep everything organized. And we'll move on. So moving on to the front here, I have a little whisk broom. These are just little lens cleaners. If you get dust on your lens, it's not a good idea to use your shirt, and I've done it, where you take your shirt and you wipe the lens, because you could smudge it. I also have a little air ball. Okay, this is nice if you're blowing. I bought this originally years ago when I was shooting. I can't remember what camera that was, but this actually is nice when you think you have some dust on your sensor. So you take your lens off, you open your mirror if you have a mirror camera, or mirrorless, the sensors are, and you can just blow on. You know, you can just pump some air down because you don't want to touch the sensor. So I keep those in there just to keep the lens clean. Let's see what we have in here. Here we have an extra strap system, which I don't use a whole lot with the Sony, I could tell you that. They are very nice if you're going to shoot all day, if you have a big DSLR camera. This helps to keep the weight off your neck. Very, very nice. Another package of filters. So we have more filters here, lens filters. Another package of filters, you know, because you can never have enough, right? So I have many different types of filters. I do keep business cards in here. All kinds of spare batteries. These are probably for my triggers. And I have batteries in here for my light meter, which I'll show you soon enough. And AA batteries, so we have those in there. And that's about everything in there. Put this stuff back in here. So sometimes, folks, in our kits, in our bags when we're going out now, if you shoot professionally, semi-pro, or as I said, amateur pro, whatever you're shooting, you may or may not need all this gear. Depending on what you're shooting, you may just take that little bag, like I said, with your DSLR or with your whatever camera you're shooting. You may take that little bag and go out and be just fine when you're shooting landscapes or whatever and having a nice time out. So now we're going to go inside the bag here. Inside the bag, this is the lens that is for sale. If anybody shoots Nikon, this is a Sigma 24x70. It is an f2.8. It is definitely for sale. If you want to comment on here, get your email address, we can make some kind of arrangements. I'll tell you what I'm asking for it then, and we'll see what it will cost to ship it to you. So if you're shooting Nikon, this is a great lens, folks. I've used this for, so many different weddings. It's never been abused. It's a great lens. You know, we never did anything harmful to the lens, so it's there and it's available. It just doesn't work on the Sony cameras. So I do not need that lens anymore. The next lens I have for you is a 50mm. This is a 50mm f1.8 lens. This lens is also available, very inexpensive. You can message me again on these comments, and I will definitely get you a price on it, and we'll work out some kind of deal where you can purchase this. Since you're watching the shows, and I know you just subscribed, so we will be good to go with that. What I was playing with for a while, trying to see if it would work or not, is this lens adapter. This is a lens adapter for the Sony mount, and you put it on the camera. Now, it's not autofocus, but it did work. You put it on, but it just didn't give me that quality I'm looking for. And I think more or less these days, folks, you want autofocus. Yeah, we can manually focus our lenses, but you do want autofocus. I think that's a big deal nowadays. I tried to use this a little bit, and I wasn't really super impressed. The next thing you may or may not have in your camera bag, depending on what you shoot, I found this thing to be not an absolute necessity, but it made my photography work when I was out working with brides and grooms, or when you're working with a group of people. It made my life so much easier. That's why I bought this thing. This is the Sekonic L358 light meter. Show you that there, and we'll see this throughout the videos. At some points I'll show you how to use a light meter. We'll talk about them. Is it a definite necessity nowadays? The camera does a really good job metering, but where I found this to be extremely useful is either with just available lighting, right? With the outdoors, using available light. I also found it very, very valuable when I'm using flash to dial in my manual settings easily. Just go up, you just pop this open here, just go near your subject. You would take a test shot with your flash and get a reading. plug it into the camera, and then you have absolutely perfect exposure. So I do like this thing. It's a wonderful piece of machinery. I never bought a really expensive one because you don't need a really expensive one. There's probably even cheaper ones out there than this one that will do the job for you, what you're looking to do. Again, keep spare batteries for this device in the pouch there because it's very important. The next thing I do carry is 2 off-camera flashes, 2 strobes. If you have 1 strobe, that's fine, but I would recommend buy yourself a pack, a pair of triggers. And when we talk about triggers, I'll kind of do some research and find some maybe inexpensive triggers for you. You don't have to spend a ton of money, but you want to be sure that they fire when they're supposed to fire. The worst thing is, and it's happened to me before, you're out, you have your flash on a light stand, and you're taking photographs of someone, like a senior portrait, and seniors basically don't want their picture taken anyway. The parents want the senior portraits. The kid just wants to get done. You're going through 2, maybe 3 or 4 different outfit changes, and you're firing these strobes. You want to make sure this thing fires all the time. If it doesn't fire, then we have a problem, right? Because the teen starts to get that teen whining, I call, aren't we done yet? And they're usually pretty good with me. I mean, I'm not going to say that. But with their parents, they're like, Mom, can I be done now? So, but this is the young Nuo flash I picked up a while ago. It is the YN5602, the version 2. And I use it. This flash is mainly used as my slave, as my secondary flash. And I'm going to show you another flash that I've also had actually for a while, because they have much newer models out now. And I will tell you one thing with your strobes. When you put your strobes away, your off-camera flashes, make sure you absolutely, if you can see here, I'm going to show you real quick to show you that I do it. And actually this was from somebody I used to work with at one time. I take the batteries out. She took her flash out one day and was going to use it after it sat for maybe a year, maybe 2 years, and it was nothing but corrosion in there because she left the batteries in. Now, batteries leak, right? So they can leak out, and it'll get corroded in there. I hope you can clean it. If not, you just dropped a lot of money for no reason. But this is the Nikon SB600 flash. Now I have found, and when I bought the Sony, I thought, well, I'm going to play around a little bit and see if in fact the Nikon flash would work with the Sony, and that's always tricky. So I put it on the camera, and it's tricky because you don't want to burn up the circuitry in the camera. But I did a little research, and people said they work fine. I turned it on, and sure enough, it fired. It was absolutely perfect. And so I kept this flash. I can't fire this flash with my remote triggers, so it works absolutely well. I don't have any problem with firing it with the Sony camera. The sync times are right and everything's good. So I'm keeping the flash, folks. I'm sorry, it's not for sale. This is the SB600. I've been totally impressed with it. I use it in light boxes. I have some Westcott speed boxes we'll talk about later on in these videos. I don't want to bore you with stuff. I think I want these videos to be more informative to you. Just to show you what I have. And what I use, and I try to make it, all these videos, and over the years I've tried to shoot my photography, and I know I said I had the D600 full frame camera. Yes, I did spend a lot of money on that camera, but as you see, I shot Sigma lenses with it. I didn't have to buy the Nikon lenses, and that saves you a lot of money, so that's very important. So I don't want to show you how to shoot. We're not going to call these cheap cameras by any means, because I use these, and I would never want a client to say, oh, Jack's coming out with a cheap camera, he's going to shoot my son's senior portraits with something cheap. No, we're going to call them cost efficient, or maybe we'll call them budget cameras, but I shoot it. I love the Sony camera. It's been working really, really well. And but I just wanted to get with you and show you what's in the gear bag. Also in the top, I didn't show you this, but in the top here, there is a place up here where you can put extra memory cards. So if you want to throw some memory cards in there. But this bag has been really, really good to us. We've carried it a long way. My wife can tell you, when we went to the Grand Canyon. She carried it a lot of times because I was photographing, so she would have this bag on her shoulder. They are nice bags. It is, as I said, the slingshot bag, so it has one sling on it. The idea is when you go anywhere, you can flip this around your shoulder and you can pull your camera right out of here. Okay, so for the Sony might get lost in there. It's pretty, yeah, I think the Sony would actually get lost in there. Yeah, it's not going to work out too well. I mean, I guess I could have it in there, but yeah, might get lost in there. But if you have one of the DSLR cameras, this will fit. It will fit with a 70 by 200 lens. I've had that in there, and it's nice because you pull it out. And you can pull it out. I've seen guys lay it on the bag and they get a clean shot. So that's what these bags are actually made to do. Anyway, let's see here. So I'll put this bag aside. So, but that's the whole bag. That's what's in my gear bag. That's what I carry. As I said, we've been carrying this. We went on vacation. We went on vacation this summer, a cross-country motorcycle trip, and all we took was this little bag. And I have some amazing shots to work with you folks later on with some editing. Because as I said, if you watch the intro video, we will be learning editing also and doing some editing work. I don't get into, and I can tell you really quickly here, I don't get into the full-fledged Photoshop. Most times, and believe me, I've been doing this semi-professionally, and we'll talk about that just really quickly. What's the difference between a semi-pro and a pro? The pro is they make their livelihood from photography. That's all they do. I do not. I have a full-time job, and I use photography as a supplemental. And supplemental, I mean, basically it's our vacation money every year. So if I go out and do a shoot, we just put that money aside. Or it's for gear. It's for new gear. It helps to support the habit, I guess most people would say, with photography. So, but that's the big thing you got to worry about. So, but that's the difference between pro and semi-pro or amateur pro. If you get paid something for your pictures, then you can call yourself amateur pro or semi-pro or however you want to slice that, as I said, whichever. But the editing part of it, so I use Photoshop Elements because it's more inexpensive. I can show you some great tips and tricks around there. And we're going to see those through these videos. We're going to be editing some photographs, as well as Lightroom. I do like Lightroom. Lightroom's about $150, but it's amazing when you're working with the amount of raw pictures that I bring back if we go on a vacation or if you do a photo shoot, right? We have a ton of raw pictures that I have to deal with, and Lightroom's just really easy to do that with. So, okay folks, so hit that thumbs up button, give me a like on this video. Hopefully we'll start these off and we'll get going with these videos. And please subscribe. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if I looked right on my last video, I think it's over there up on the top of the screen. There's a subscribe button. So click that subscribe button, and thank you for watching. Until next time, as always, keep those shutters clicking and keep the editors editing. I will talk to you next time on The Photography Guy. Bye for now.